No, COVID vaccine uptakes are falling all the time. In unrelated news, Texas is suing Pfizer for symptoms and side effects that you could have learned about on independent media years and years ago. If the Biden administration hadn't banned us from talking about it. Hello there, you awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on our voyage to truth and freedom. And the reason I can say that it's a voyage to truth and freedom is because we are moving closer to the goal, even though it seems like there's an enshrouding darkness that has to be punctured by the light of our consciousness. It is indeed happening. Here's a simple example. People are no longer taking COVID vaccines, and the legacy media are keen to tell you that's because people are busy, I don't know, being allowed out of their houses or moving around or being less than 2 meters away from people. But another reason is because independent media, which is driven by your independent thought, has been continually reported about some of the more complex issues related to lockdown, and in particular the medications that were suggested during that time and some of their problems. And some of those problems now have gone from being chatted about on 4chan and weird peripheral corners of the dark web to actually being in the courts. Texas are suing Pfizer for things we were talking about in these kind of spaces, or at least we were inquiring after in online independent media spaces for a couple of years now. Of course, as you remember, those of you that are long-term members of this community, we had to nimbly skip through linguistic trickery in order to not get banned, because the Biden administration insists on censoring true information because, well, I don't know, to protect you and stuff. That's what they say, isn't it? It's to protect you, to keep you safe, all of that kind of thing. But it's increasingly starting to look like they prevented open communication and conversation, because open communication and conversation leads to individual freedom, independent choices, and the ability to resist the will and agenda of the powerful. Over the course of this video, we'll work out, based on evidence, what is the goal of censorship. Is it to protect you, or is it to control you? Let me know what you think in the chat, and let's have a look at some legacy media reporting around this issue. You'll be astonished in the way that conspiracy theories have, just plus time, become conspiracy facts, to the point now that Texas are suing Pfizer. Let's have a look at a news reporting around people not taking COVID shots now. Why would that be? Excess deaths. That's not a real cough. You don't need to vaccinate me.
Just in, it's been almost 3 years since the first COVID vaccines rolled out across the country, but it appears this year vaccinations are low, and health experts say it will be a challenge to boost them. CDC data shows around 15% of adults and 5% of kids.
I mean, that guy's got to take it. He works there. Look, that's a doctor's coat.
Got the latest COVID vaccine through mid-November. Some say the drop in vaccines could be because cases are down significantly. Nearly 4 in 10 people also say they've been too busy to get the latest shot since it was approved in September.
I'm too busy. That's the sort of thing you'd say to someone you didn't want to date anymore. What's curious about this is, of course, these are the sorts of things that people have been discussing for a long time. But remember how the legacy media reported on this subject at the height of the pandemic. If you didn't get vaccinated, it was just like walking into the street vomiting on people and punching people in the face. You should be shamed. You shouldn't be treated in hospitals. This is an extraordinary about turn, and perhaps it's in part because we now better understand the nature of these medications, some of the complications of these medications, some of the information that was withheld, some of the clinical trials that didn't take place, the way that COVID cases were reported, and even the way that the death statistics were managed. We all have a lot more information now. Why? Because of your independent thought and because of independent media. That makes us all less malleable. That's a little bit of a problem. But there are bigger problems around the corner, because the people of Texas are waking up to the realities of what's just gone on.
Health experts are hopeful, though, rates will go up once a combo shot targeting multiple respiratory viruses is available.
We just need a combo shot. Take 2 vaccines into the shower? No. It's not like a Happy Meal. It's not like if you get a free toy or free fries, you should take a Actually, they did use that exact technique, didn't they? Look, we'll give you a milkshake. No, you're all right. Okay, so now the state of Texas is taking Pfizer to court. What an extraordinary turnaround. We've gone from people having Pfizer tattooed on their bodies like they couldn't get enough Pfizer needles in them, people wearing clothing adorned with Pfizer, to the state of Texas taking Pfizer to court. But why is that? Now listen to this legacy media reporting and notice if you've heard some of these ideas before from great contributors to the conversation, like Robert Malone, one of the inventors of RMNA technology, or Peter McCulloch, an important voice in this space, or Dave Martin, or Jay Bhattacharya, Judy Miscavige, with so many important voices in this space, all of which you will only hear on independent media sites. You'll hear them on Joe Rogan, you hear them here, or Tim Pool, or wherever. These are voices that were only heard in independent media spaces, and that gave us all an advantage over people that only watch legacy media, and frankly, I'm really glad we took advantage.
New at 4, Attorney General Ken Paxton suing drug maker Pfizer. Paxton posted about it to social media, accusing the company of misrepresenting the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine and conspiring to censor public discourse.
Conspiring to censor public discourse. How often on our channel do we find ourselves talking about censorship? What is the function of censorship? Of course, the argument is that the function of censorship is to protect you and to protect vulnerable people. And in the end, we're all vulnerable. If the pandemic era taught us anything, it was that. But what do we suspect censorship is about on this channel? Controlling the narrative and preventing dissent.
Now, a press release from Paxton's office says Pfizer made unsupported claims in violation of the Texas Deceptive Trade Practices Act. Paxton says the pharmaceutical company's representation that the vaccine was 95% effective was highly misleading.
Yeah, do you remember that? Like it was 95% effective. Do you remember seeing Albert Bourla doing puff piece after puff piece on his worldwide immunology tour, saying, you know, oh, we did the research and we thought it might be 80%, but in the end it was 95% effective. And then what did we discover? I mean, how effective is it?
Paxton also wrote that Pfizer did not test if the vaccine protected against transmission.
It was 100% effective in the areas we didn't test it for, perhaps because we didn't test it.
But it still touted the vaccine is a necessary measure to protect loved ones.
Yeah, Albert Bourla's loved ones. It's really been good for them. Everyone else, And that's now where we find ourselves. But at the beginning, what I just said then was like, well, what is it now you're not allowed to say? Let me know in the chat.
The lawsuit follows Paxton's investigation into vaccine manufacturers launched earlier this year.
Think about it. This video, even now, has a COVID information thing underneath it right now. But where's that underneath the people that were telling you? You take this shot, it stops. It's one shot stop. Does that have a COVID misinformation under it? So right there, you know what misinformation means, don't you? Misinformation means information that's inconvenient to the agenda of the powerful. Because otherwise, there wouldn't be COVID warnings underneath this right now. There will be COVID warnings underneath the people saying, go take this shot and go visit your grandma. What happened to your grandma? Let me know in the chat. And did you enjoy going to that funeral on YouTube?
Paxton says the lawsuit is based on 2 months of clinical trial data. Those numbers, he says, indicate the vaccine was 0.85% effective.
Oh my God, that's nearly not a number. That's nearly, we've got to think of new numbers. That's a drawing. That's almost like, what percent effective was it? Yellow? That's not good enough. You've got to at least get to a number. It's under numbers. We're one of the only cultures that do percentiles. If you gave that to people in the Amazon, which you never would because they can't afford the patents or build the factories, right, Mr. Gates?
Absolutely.
They wouldn't even have a number for it. It's just effective or not effective. And I think we will all begin to understand what category those vaccines fall into.
Pfizer still maintains the vaccine was 95% effective.
I maintain still it was 95%. Where are those mouses?
This is the second lawsuit filed this month by Paxton against Pfizer.
Do you know that Sticker Mule have decided to support us even further with yet more of these fantastic stickers? There are 6 stunning designs, including, wait for it, this little guy, that are only available in this beautiful pack, and they're made with Sticker Mule's magic touch. Sticker Mule has released another 10,000 of these packs. Yeah, 10,000 that you can have for how much? What would you pay for a sticker like that? $1,000? $500? They're going to deliver it to your address absolutely free. Just go to stickermule.com/Russell and fill out the form. It's literally as simple as that. Then there'll be a moment where this comes to your home. You will love it. That's stickermule.com/Russell and fill in the form.
The first claims the company and a supplier manipulated quality control tests to distribute ineffective ADHD medication to kids.
There's nothing they won't do. I mean, but did we forget the Sackler family? Did we forget Purdue? Did we forget the opioid crisis in America? Yeah, we did, because no one reports on it properly. You have to go out of your way to be reminded, hold on a minute, it's the pharmaceutical industry. They're not our friends. They're not our friends. They're not our friends. You have to remind yourself continually, wait, it's the media. Yeah, but you can trust the media. No, they get all of their advertising from the pharmaceutical company. Yeah, but the government, no, they get a lot of their funding from the government. They invest in these companies. Oh, wait, so what? We have to change the entire system? That's it? Keep going. What, and start like are new populist movements that are willing to overlook cultural differences. Keep going. Start voting for new political figures that are outside the establishment, that are virulently anti-establishment. That's it. Keep talking. Now you're getting it. Censored. Okay, so we could have saved a lot of time. Somehow we've travelled from 95% effective to less than a number effective. Why wasn't it being openly discussed? Were people shutting down the conversation or censoring it and shutting down dissent and condemning people that had questions just like maniacs and stuff? Yeah, that's exactly what was happening.
All right, back with the Fox Business exclusive. House Judiciary Republicans obtaining internal documents from YouTube's parent company.
They talk about YouTube like it's a family, and you and your family are just statistics. Do you see how it's all got all warped and mental and mad? Companies are treated now as sort of like great icons and as gods whose rights have to be respected. You can't do that. You'll affect that company. That's YouTube's nephew. Like, they're not families. It's just a bunch of money and a bunch of interests and a bunch of censorship and a bunch of lies propagated to formulate a reality that you'll sit still in and behave yourself. Well, you shouldn't.
They show that Biden White House pushed to censor matters relating to vaccine misinformation. Hillary Vaughn is live at the Capitol with the details. Hillary.
Hi, Brian. Well, these documents that we've exclusively obtained.
I'm live from the world's longest Kubrickian corridor. It goes on literally for infinity. And right down the other end, you can see how effective a Pfizer vaccine is. That's the most effective one down there.
Are the latest example of how the Biden White House tried to browbeat big tech to get them to censor COVID vaccine content that they did not like.
That they didn't like. That's what it came down to, isn't it? That's how simple it was. I don't like that. Can you censor it? It's true, that's Jay Bhattacharya. He's from Stanford University. He's been conducting trials like this for a long time. He's pointing out the significant fact that many of the lockdown measures are based on computer modelling than actual epidemiology and the study of the disease, which of course isn't available yet because the disease can't be studied to that degree because the data is not available. I said I didn't like it. Can you please get rid of that particular scientist? Sorry, yep, done.
Documents we obtained show that the White House staff did not care if content was right or wrong.
Don't care if anything's right or wrong, I'm beginning to think. That laptop, is it right or wrong? Don't care. This information, right or wrong? Don't care. Receiving all these checks from around the world, right or wrong? Don't care. Hanging up the stockings on the mantelpiece. Let's think about that. Well, what are we going to do about some of Hunter's other kids? Get rid of the stockings!
If it wasn't pro-vaccine, they wanted it taken down. And Google's YouTube was eager to keep the peace with the White House as the president's team turned up the pressure on the platform.
Eager to keep the peace with the White House. Where has it gone? Where's representative democracy? Where's freedom? Where is it all? What's happened to the dream of America when stuff like that just happens?
Documents show that Biden's director of digital strategy, Rob Flaherty, pushed YouTube to take more action. In an email exchange, Flaherty asked about a tweet that claimed YouTube's algorithm was pushing anti-vax content next to Breaking Bad clips, emailing Google's team this: "I'm curious, saw this tweet."
This is passive-aggressive psycho X text from old Rob Flaherty. I'm curious. Do you even love me? So menacing. I'm curious. I saw this tweet. I think we had a pretty extensive back and forth about the degree to which you're all recommending anti-vaccination content. You seemed pretty emphatic that you are not. What a psycho. What a psycho. That's him just saying, we've told you, will you censor this stuff, all of it? And them saying, yeah, we will actually. We'll censor it. We'll demonetize it. We'll do whatever it takes to shut down any opposition to our evil agenda. How do you spell ha 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 ha?
I think we had a pretty extensive back and forth about the degree to which you were all recommending anti-vaccination content. You were pretty emphatic that you were not. This seems to indicate that you are. What's going on here?
I mean, do you even love me?
This is the tweet that triggered the White House. The examples of the so-called anti-vax content include a video of Senator Rand Paul from a Senate hearing.
You just see, like, some of them, Rand Paul and RFK, like, the very few voices that you might turn to for a shred of truth. Like Rand Paul interviewing Fauci going, well, hold on a minute. Did you invest in that place? Did you get royalty? Wait a minute. What the hell happened with the HIV? What's going on? And then RFK saying stuff like this, biolabs in Ukraine, dual-use technology. These are the people that are actually telling us the truth. Yeah, that's the problem. Get them out of here. Unless you don't love me.
Talking about COVID vaccines and a vaccine debate with RFK Jr. YouTube told Flaherty they only remove content that contradicts local health authorities or the World Health Organization, and these didn't qualify for removal.
But we can adapt those policies to make sure that they're completely in alignment with your will, sir.
But the pressure from Biden's team didn't let up, sparking concern among YouTube employees. One email a YouTube team member says the drop in demand for the COVID shots is about to put pressure on social media to do more. Warning, quote, the role of tech in addressing vaccine hesitancy is about to come under a massive spotlight, particularly as the supply of the the vaccine is soon set to outpace demand.
It's a marketing issue. They have more vaccines than they knew what to do with. Let me know if you've got any suggestions for what they could have done with those vaccines in the chat there.
YouTube's teams, highly sensitive to the White House's disapproval, came up with a strategy to prevent anything, quote, from spiraling out of control.
That's a weird concept. We don't know what spiraling out of control might look like. Maybe it looked like Tron. Maybe it's a Jackson Pollock painting. Maybe it's a dog pulling out tufts of its own fur. All of this is being experimented by Jill and Joe Biden right now. Isn't that right, Joe? This whole thing could have just been done like this. We've got this vaccine because we've only just invented it, although patents stretch back longer than you might like to think for weird reasons I don't want to get into. We've got this vaccine. If you want to take it, take it. If you don't, we ain't tested it for transmission anyway, so there's certainly no moral imperative. Good luck out there. Like, that's it. If they'd have just done that, I mean, I'd be out of a job, but we're working pretty hard to create that state anyway.
We don't know what YouTube feared would spiral out of control and what that would look like. We tried to ask the White House for comment for our story and Google as well. We did not hear back. Brian?
So there you go. What a journey we've been on together. Vaccine hesitancy now seems to be at saturation point. Could it be due to the fact that legacy media have proven to be absolutely wrong in denying significant voices like the ones I always list, McCulloch, Jay Bhattacharya, all of the voices that were saying, hey, whoa, this isn't how pandemics work. This isn't even actually what a vaccine is, or RFK, all of these voices now that were criticized and attacked. Joe Rogan, ivermectin, horse paste, all of these voices over time have been shown, proven to have been correct to the degree that Texas are now taking Pfizer to court. Who would have imagined that? Furthermore, it's been revealed that the White House were actively pressuring YouTube, Google, etc. to censor true content because there was a surplus of vaccines. What an astonishing world we live in. And in order for it to be less astonishing, we're going to have to take back a little bit of personal autonomy, stop trusting the legacy media, absolutely oppose all forms of censorship, and demand independent, free-thinking politics and media. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the chat? We'll find some way to agree with one another, because ultimately we're going to have to find new unity, decentralized but unified against oppressive power. Otherwise, it would seem that we're doomed. Remember, we stream every day over on Rumble. You'll love our content over there. Become a member of our community. It's a crazy, crazy chat. It's a crazy place. You'll love it. More important than that, though, if you can, please stay free. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.